Good morning, dear children. Let's start chapter number 1 of term 3, The Little Match Girl. This story is written by Hans Christian Andersen, who is a Danish writer. Danish means a person who is born in the country Denmark. It was bitterly cold day. Snow was falling and it was dark. It was also the last day of the old year, New Year's Eve. A little girl walked in the bitter cold and gathering darkness. She was thin, shivering little girl, wearing a cotton dress and no shawl. Her legs were blue with cold. In her basket, she carried many matchboxes. My dear children, this story is about a little girl who was out in the bitter cold or extreme cold day to sell matchsticks. What are matchsticks? In Malayalam, you also call it Tipatti. The snow was falling and it was very, very dark. And also it was the last day of the old year. You can also say it was 31st December's night. Okay. And New Year's Eve. That is in the midnight of 31st December we begin New Year. Isn't it? And this girl was walking in this cold, and as she is walking, the cold and the darkness is growing strong. She was very thin. She was not in good health. She was shivering with cold. And in this cold winter, she was wearing cotton dress. Children, one normally wears cotton dress in summer season. But she was so poor that she could not afford woolen or warm clothes in the winter, and she did not even have a shawl or a blanket to cover herself. Her legs were cold. She did not have the socks to wear. She was shivering, and she had a basket in which she carried many matchboxes. She had not sold a single matchbox that day and was afraid to go home because she would get a beating from her father. She crept along, shivering and hungry, the poor little match girl. My dear children, on the last day of the old year, she was not very lucky to sell any matchsticks. And she was very much afraid to go back home without earning any money because her father would be beating her. So, she is walking silently, shivering with cold, hungry, and the poor little girl is on the streets in the cold winter. The snowflakes fell on her dark curls. That means the snow is falling on her head and it's falling directly on her black hair because she is not having anything to cover her head. Lights were shining in every house. As it's New Year, all the people have decorated their houses. So she could see lights coming from every house. A delicious smell of cooking came from all the houses. Special food have been prepared by everyone. So she could smell the food, the delicious food from all the houses. It was New Year's Eve and the little girl longed for a warm room and a hot dinner. It was New Year, and like any other normal person, she also desired to get some warmth and food. Her own house was very cold because the roof and the walls were broken and the cold winds could enter. And she knew that if she is going back home, there will be no more food left.